Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to a brand new Sacred Union Energy update. It seems like we're doing these quite often these days, but that's because there is a lot of moving energy, a lot of shifts and transformation that's happening, especially since the eclipse season over the past couple of weeks. Two things. If I sound kind of funny, there are two things that are happening. Number one, I'm fighting off some kind of something. And number two, I'm feeling extremely raw and emotional at the moment. There's a lot of heart expansion that is happening, especially within the divine masculine energy. This could be your masculine energy within you that is feeling this. Divine feminines, you might be feeling this as well, not just from your masculine, but as you're feeling it from your masculine, your own heart is opening again. And it's making you feel a little bit raw. It's making you feel a little bit uncertain. And in some respects, it's a little bit scary, especially if you have experienced quite a lot on your journey thus far. A lot of ups and downs, lots of in and out, a lot of pain. Now remember that you and your counterpart do not cause each other pain intentionally. You're each other's divine mirror, and that you catalyze each other, challenge each other for your greatest growth. And when you're in an unconscious state, or your wounded state is activated, it triggers the parts in you that require or show you where you need to feel more love within yourself, where you need to connect further within yourself, and where there's healing to take place. This journey is not about perfection. You do not have to be completely healed, so to speak. It is about just becoming aware of yourself, connecting deeper to yourself and to God, connecting deeper to the world around you, and recognizing where you were playing out old patterns and old wounds. And we often do that within our deepest connections. And that's where a lot of compassion, empathy, and forgiveness is necessary. And that's where a lot of self-compassion is necessary. Because as we've been saying over the past couple of weeks, you don't know what you don't know. And so allow yourself to forgive yourself. And allow yourself to forgive each other. This could be your counterpart. This could be anybody else in your life that needs to have that experience of forgiveness. Now, forgiveness doesn't mean that you have to forget. But it does mean that you allow for more compassion and empathy. Forgiveness is not bypassing. It is not sweeping anything under the rug. It is allowing for the energy to shift, for your perspective to shift, and for more love to enter into the equation. And love is who you have always been. Love is who you and your counterpart have always been. There's a lot to be said for this sacred journey, this sacred union path of ascension. There's a lot to be said for it. And I myself have gotten a little bit lost in the ego and in the pain of what I had experienced over the past year or so with regards to my divine counterpart, almost 2 years now, with my divine counterpart, because that pain felt so, it was so much, and it took a lot of healing, and that's where separation was of value. That's where my own taking time apart, my own experience of separation was necessary, because I allowed myself to heal and grow and expand within that physical separation. And sometimes that's necessary, especially if the energy is so intense between counterparts. But it feels like something is really shifting now, and it feels like you're calling each other home. Now, there are a number of different pathways that have been opening up. As you've been saying, for some, this is the counterpart that you've been on this journey with, that you've been catalyzed to your ascension with, who is transforming and growing right along with you, even if you can't quite see it in the physical, who's having their own experience, their own journey, and their own expansion, especially within the heart space. For others, you might be experiencing more of a soulmate path, and that might be the path of your journey, where you're moving into a counterpart connection with that soulmate, a high vibrational soulmate who matches that frequency. For others still, that soulmate path is helping you to grow and heal and expand more so that you can come back into that healthy partnership and healthy connection, not that wounded state anymore, not that unconscious state anymore, with a counterpart. And even as you have been healing and becoming more conscious along your journey thus far up until now, sometimes that separation means more growth, because you're never truly separate from your counterpart. As you can see, I have one of my books here. Over the past couple of weeks, I have been guided to read my books again, my own books. And I think it was Maya Angelou or Toni Morrison that said you have to write the books that you want to read. And so I did. I wrote 4. And I'm writing another one. Many of those books felt in my heart like they needed to come out of me. When I write, it's very much like when I channel. It's a part of me that is being channeled from the very depths of my being, from the very soul of myself. It's any writing that I do, any channeling that I do, any of the sharing that I do here, the personal sharing that I do here. It's very much like when I write my books. It comes up from the core of myself, from the soul of myself, and spills out onto the page or spills out in these words. It's coming from the very depths and the heart of who I am. When I wrote this book, I wrote it in February of 2017. Especially dealing with Lyme disease, I experienced a lot of brain fog, which makes it very difficult to focus, to concentrate. When I was writing the last letter, one of my other books, it was literally written sometimes a sentence at a time. This book, I woke up one beautiful February morning, and I woke up with a phrase in my mind. It was the beginning of this book. My name is Lilac Sophia Carpenter, and I'm 16 years old. I'm going to be 16 years old for the rest of my life. And I grabbed my notebook and a pen on my bedside table, and I just started writing. And for 3 weeks, I had utter clarity in my mind. So when I tell you that I deal with brain fog, understand how amazing that was for me. It felt like channeling, and I didn't have the word for it back then, but this book was channeled. And then I spent 2 years editing it, revising it, putting it through the beta reading process, and procrastinating a lot because that's what I do with my books. It takes a while to get from start to finish for me. And the brain fog set in, so that made it kind of harder. Even though the intention's there, sometimes it makes it harder, which makes me even more grateful for what I've built and what I've created. But this book was channeled. I don't have any other way to put it. I wrote it in 3 weeks, February of 2017. In November of 2017, I would be activated to this Ascension journey with my counterpart. What is that, something like 6 months later, 8 months later? I was called to read my books again the past couple of months, and I've been not doing it, hesitating, putting it off, because I have other books I want to read and other projects I want to work on. But last night I actually sat down and I said, okay, God, I hear you. I'm listening. I'm ready. And I said, which book? What message? Which book? And he pointed me to this one. And I'm like, I don't need to read this. I wrote this. Like, I know every word in this book. What is it that I actually need to understand? But the further along I got, the more I began to see my book with fresh eyes. I have a soul sister who's also an author. She's one of my best friends. She's been one of my best friends for a very long time. And we talk a lot about business. We talk a lot about writing. And we've been on the twin flame journey together since the beginning. I've known her for decades, but we've been on this twin flame journey together. She's been with me since the beginning. And when I first published this book in 2019, when I was getting it ready for publication, I was talking to her about it. I said, this feels something like my journey. And we would laugh and say that I would manifest through my books. In the last letter, there's a scene between 2 of the main characters that ended up playing out almost exactly, well, maybe not exactly, but ended up playing out in my connection, where one of the main characters, well, the main character's love interest leads her into the woods, and she's afraid because she has Lyme disease, and he leads her into the woods, and she trusts him, and she follows him. And I didn't realize until later that my counterpart brought me back to the woods, brought me back to a part of myself, helped me feel alive again, helped me not feel so afraid of something that I love so much, nature that I love so much, the woods that I love so much. And so this book was difficult because it doesn't have the happiest of endings. My books have a real heavy dose of realism to them, but there was also something magical in the ending. There was something ethereal, and to this day, the ending is still one of my favorites that I've ever written. The eternal love that exists, the eternal life that exists. So I read this book back again after, not, after trying to avoid it, and I realized I'm seeing it from a new perspective. It is definitely a twin flame book. I did not intend to write that, did not even know what twin flames were when I was writing it. But it is definitely that eternal love that exists. And so I want to read just one very short passage that I wrote. I want to be mad at him. I want to yell at him and cry and hate him because it would make this so much easier. But most of all, I want to forgive him because he's here now, staring at me with pleading eyes, and I still love him. I still love Nathan Emery, and if there's one thing I know for certain in this whole fucked up world, it's that I'll never stop. The heart is opening, and there's so much love and there's so much forgiveness. And part of my ego and part of my resistance, and I was in resistance, is because, again, there has been so much pain, and in many ways I could look at my life and be like, he's not here. He blocked me, he's not talking to me, he said awful things to me. But even through it all, there's still love. And my human self can say, yes, I'm having healthy boundaries, and no, I am not going to chase after him. But the spirit part of me says, I don't have to. The soul aspect of myself says, I don't have to. I don't have to for the love to still be there. The love can still be there, and I can still have those healthy boundaries, and I can still know that I'm not chasing. I can still know that's not my step to take. I can still experience life and joy and my path and let that path unfold and not know what that path looks like, but that's where my faith in God comes in. That's where my faith in the universe comes in. That's where my own trust in myself and the unfolding of my journey looks like. I can have faith and not know what's to come and still have love for him. It would be so easy to be mad at him and hate him. And in some ways I kind of do. But underneath it all, there's just so much love. There's just so much love. Because I'm talking about this book, I don't want you guys to have to go out and buy it. I'm making it free for the next 5 days. 5 days is all I'm able to offer with Amazon's program. But it is free for the next 5 days. So if you'd like to read this book for yourself, you can feel free to head on over to Amazon and check it out. If you want copies, I'd be happy to, physical copies, I'd be happy to do that as well. The purpose of this was not to get you to buy the book, I promise. It was more of my own realization of what is happening. And the whole book was just resonant for me, in my journey. And there's a lot of fiction in it. I mean, it's a novel. But when I look at the core, at the energy of the relationship that Lilac has with Nathan, it feels like eternal. And no matter what's experienced between you, that love is always there. And again, that does not mean that you just bypass or sweep anything under the rug. But two things can coexist, and we've been understanding that for a while. You can be mad and still love somebody. You can have healthy boundaries and still love somebody. You can say, never again am I going to be in that energy. And never again am I going to put myself in that situation. And never again am I going to accept this behavior and still love somebody. Because love is eternal. And love is the fabric of who you are. So the book, Lilac in Winter, and let's get to a reading. I'm going to pull some cards first just to see what the overall energy is, and then Patreon subscribers, we're going to go into a deeper read for you guys. So let's see what's going on for the Divine Masculine. I haven't used this deck in a very long time, the Sacred Rebels Oracle, but I felt called to it as I was trying to decide what deck felt right for this reading. So let's see what's going on for the Divine Masculine and the Divine Feminine given this energy that's being experienced here. Major shifts occurring. Divine masculine. No, I want to start with the divine feminine. Divine feminine, what do you experience? Since you're feeling all this energy, what is the divine feminine experiencing? What does she have to say? Divine feminine, please. Wow, okay. So we have at the bottom of the deck, every journey starts with a single step. And Divine Feminines, I feel like you are really entering into a new phase. We've been channeling this for a couple months, a couple weeks, actually a couple of years, where one phase of your journey has come to an end and a new one is beginning. And it might have been a couple of years because there's been a transition energy about this. You've been moving through a lot of transition, moving through a lot of in-between kind of energy. Not just as one cycle closes, but as one major aspect of your journey and one major aspect of yourself comes to a close. And we've been channeling for the past couple of weeks that you're really moving into something new. And you can feel, especially with the eclipse energy, that a door has closed. The door of the past version of yourself. This is your inner union, Divine Feminines. You've anchored that in. You're now embodying this. You're releasing. It says releasing allegiances. You have the number 10 here. Look at the vulnerability. The nakedness. That is Divine Feminine energy. She is vulnerable. She is intimate with herself. She knows herself. She holds herself. She knows how to hold that space for herself. She knows how to love herself in that vulnerability, in that nakedness, in that intimacy. And she's releasing the old version of herself that sought for another to do that for her. Now, when you're in a relationship with another, it's important to understand that you do hold space for each other. You're not two individuals living your individual lives in a relationship. You are still in a relationship where you are relating to each other. You lift each other up. You encourage each other. You support each other. You challenge each other. You grow with each other, not against each other. You nurture each other. You're one garden within a relationship, within a connection. You're one garden. And yes, you have to tend to your part of the garden. And your counterpart has to tend to their part of the garden. But it's still one garden. And that one garden is the relationship as a whole. And sometimes you tend to each other's part of the garden when you need that space to be held. You don't abandon, you don't neglect, you don't reject. You don't withhold affection. You don't withhold your love for each other. You nurture the relationship as the relationship. That is your third energy. And we've channeled that quite a bit. Trinity energy exists all around us. It exists in our connection with Mother, Father, God, as that parent. Mother, Father, God, and us as the child. It exists within your counterpart connection with Divine Masculine, Divine Feminine, and God Source. It exists within physical connection with a mother, a father, and a child. It exists within your relationship. And sometimes that is what you give birth to. The masculine, the feminine, and the relationship that is nurtured. It exists all around us, that Trinity energy. We are not meant to be individualized as humans, as spirit. It's recognizing that we are here to nurture relationships with each other, to help each other to grow. But you're releasing the past template of what you thought connection was and what you thought relationship was, and even what you thought you were. You're releasing the old dependencies, the old templates, the old versions. And you are now moving into the new. And I love this card. It's another 10 number they're pointing me to, but also collaborative daydreaming. Collaborative dreaming. This is where you build together. This is where you create together. It's not one person creating for the two of you. It's you both working in partnership and harmony, again, to nurture the connection that then nurtures and creates for your life. For many of you, you have been having dreams about your counterpart. For many of you may be having dreams about your mission. You may be having dreams, and your mission is how you express love. Your mission is how you express this new energy. Your mission is how you express your union. It's your expression of self. And it could look like a physical project or a business, but that's only the expression of your mission. Your mission is, how are you embodying this ascension? How are you embodying this higher level of consciousness? That is your mission. So you might be having these visions, these dreams, and you're working together. You're releasing the old version of yourself, the old templates and paradigms of what you believed connection to be. And what even you thought connection wasn't, especially if you were very individualized. And this feels more like the masculine, where the masculine felt like they needed to do everything themselves, where they were very self-sufficient, where they weren't looking towards the feminine as and seeing her divinity. They weren't seeing her promise. They weren't seeing the sacredness of her. They were taking it all on themselves because they had suppressed the masculine within them. Or I'm sorry, they had suppressed the feminine within them. They're releasing that version of themselves, just like you, Divine Feminine, are releasing the past version of you that might have looked too much to the masculine. You found that inner union within yourself, balanced within that wholeness within yourself. And so when you're in connection, you're two parts to one whole. Two parts to one whole. The whole is your relationship. The whole is your connection. The whole is your union. So I feel like there's a lot that is shifting, a lot that is changing for you. And I feel like, Divine Feminines, you're allowing yourself to not guard anymore. You're opening up again. You're allowing yourself to be soft, tender. The Divine Feminine has a sacredness about her. The Divine Feminine, she can be the wild feminine. She is not somebody who is a pushover. She is not somebody who is walked over. There is a fierceness. There is a warrior-like energy about her. There can even be an anger about her, almost like a sacred anger about her. She is not somebody to be messed with. So do not confuse the Divine Feminine with somebody who is pliable. But the feminine energy is also nurturing and is also soft. She is all things. And that's this. There's strength here within that intimacy. There's strength here within that vulnerability. There's strength here within that nakedness. Because she knows who she is now. And she recognizes all aspects of herself. She recognizes the fullness of her. She's called back all aspects of herself. This is her union. All right, let's see what's going on for the Divine Masculine. Ugh, sorry, I have a bit of a cold and I feel like I can't talk properly. All right, let's see what's going on for the masculine, please. Whoa. We have spirals of manifestation. Interesting. This Divine Masculine is going deeper and deeper and deeper into the core of who they are. They are having an awakening. They're having a crown expansion, which is also settling within their heart space. They're moving into the next level of their ascension journey. They're moving into that higher heart ascension that we've talked about for the Divine Feminine as well. So with spirals of manifestation, this is the inner spiral within themselves, going deeper and deeper within themselves to really know who they are at the core. We've talked about this for your ascension journey for years, that this is what the ascension journey is about. It's about getting to know yourself. The Oracle of Delphi said, know thyself. And that's what this energy is. It is deeper and deeper aspects of yourself, going deep into their inner spiral. beyond the identity. You're still human, so you still have an identity, and that's okay, because you need that in order to operate in this world. You're here to have a human experience. But your ascension is a conscious awareness that you are more than that, and to really connect with the core of who you are, releasing masks, releasing illusions, releasing who you thought you were based on the beliefs and programs and conditionings, to come back to the core, which is your connection to yourself and your connection to God. In your true authenticity, this is who you are. This is what the Divine Masculine is experiencing right now with that crown opening, with that heart expansion. And I feel like they are shifting into a new version of themselves and thus manifesting a new version of their life. We would say that the masculine is, it's a quote, I think it's Brene Brown, maybe Liz Gilbert, that transformation only happens when you get tired of your own bullshit. When you get tired of going on the merry-go-round, stepping off that merry-go-round. And I'm going to put a couple of links in the description box for some channelings that they're reminding me of. And let me just write it down, merry-go-round. Because we had done a channeling on that where it felt like the Divine Feminine had stepped off that merry-go-round, that karmic wheel, that karmic spiral, stepped away from it. And the Divine Masculine is doing that now through new actions, new behaviors, new ways of thinking, new beliefs, new perspectives. We've been channeling this for the Divine Masculine too, but this is deeper now. It's almost like the eclipse energy moved the energy, created that transformation, created that breakthrough, and now this is all integrating. And look who we have here. We have the divine counterparts, the feminine and the masculine, looking at each other, seeing each other in that new light, and creating together now. The power of attraction is that manifestation energy. You are creating together. That's this energy, collaborative dreaming. At the core, even though it might have looked very different, part of my difficulty with my masculine is we had a lot of miscommunication. And we had the same values, we very much believed the same thing, but we could not communicate it. It's like we were approaching it from two different angles and we just couldn't see the other person's angle, the other person's perspective. It was the same garden, but it's like they were working on roses and we were working on lilies, and it felt so disjointed. We couldn't hear each other. At the soul level we could, but our human selves, our egos, kept getting in the way. And it was almost like we so wanted each other to understand where we were coming from. But that led to a really imbalanced dynamic. But at the core, the dreams were the same. That's what this is. That's what this feels like. It feels like you are manifesting together. On an energetic level, this might not be happening in your physical connection, but on an energetic level, you have always been creating and experiencing this journey together. The masculine experiences the journey in a very different way from the feminine. They might not have or use the same language. You might not use the same language together, but that's where you grow together. That's where you teach each other. There is no hierarchy within these connections. You are equal to each other. You are matched to each other. And that's where you are both the student and the teacher, where you grow together. You share your experiences to help each other grow in your wisdom, in your insight, and even in your human experiences. Because your human experiences are lessons in and of themselves that help you to grow. But it's about trusting and honoring each other. What creates separation not only is that lack of love, the illusion of the lack of love, they're correcting me, but the lack of trust, or when trust has been dismantled. But I feel like the Divine Masculine is very much feeling this energy here, very much feeling this connection, because they're connecting deeper to themselves, and you are a part of each other. You are a part of each other. You are always part of each other. That's the soul bond. That's the soul connection. You are each other. At the soul level, you are each other. And you can have other dynamics. You can have those soul family and soulmates that kind of match your frequency. But you and your counterpart are each other. And I'll be the first to admit that I was so much in the pain that I experienced, that I was pushing that away, that I wanted to forget that. And now I'm recognizing through my own inner union that whatever the physical experience looks like, I can still accept that he's a part of me, and I'm connected to him, and that I love him. And that no matter what the physical looks like, no matter where our life leads us, that will always exist. Man, do not like that. Do not like that. I do like that, but I don't like that. My ego does not like that. My ego would rather protect my heart, guard my heart, does not want to deal with the bullshit anymore. But my soul knows that it's all love. My soul knows that it's all love. All right, we're going to continue on to the Patreon to see what is happening within the connection as a whole. And we'll be back with more of this energy, more Sacred Union updates going forward. I think this is going to be an Ascension relationship energy update. So we'll be back with more Sacred Union updates going forward.